Hello, you wonderful people, and welcome to another episode of Not Too Comic Book. This being a show where we talk about TV shows that are adaptations of comic books. For today's episode, I'm going to talk about Viral Hit Season 1, Episode 4. A lot of really interesting things went down in this episode, so let's break it down. So, as I pretty much figured, like, knowing the story beats, I was like, okay, so this episode is going to be that episode. Especially when the title of the episode is literally called Humiliation. I'm like, yep. But obviously we're picking up immediately where the last episode left off, and Hoban is sweating bullets. It's like, oh god, I said I was Museong. I even called him Museong, trying to pretend like we're close. And it's like, he's looking at Hoban, he's like, we're friends? He's like, yeah. And it's like, yeah, I guess we are. We are in the same class. And Hoban's like, wait, what? It's like, yeah. Like I said, Museong is a pretty chill dude. Like, he seems so indifferent up until now, because you're like, oh, is he a bad guy? But it's like, nah, he's actually, this episode shows you like, oh, Museong's a good guy. It's actually really interesting. I wasn't expecting, no spoilers, a development with Museong's character comes up. It's still in season 1. Once again, I haven't read it in a little while, so I don't know if there's been any developments on that front. I would assume not. But if you've read enough of the webtoon, you know what I'm talking about. There's a thing about Museong that I didn't see coming. Makes a lot of sense considering things, but it's an interesting development that I'm like, oh. So it acts with that in mind though, it changes some of like Hoban's interactions with Museong a little bit at the time. Especially considering like what Museong know. I think he knew some stuff at this time. It just changes like his interactions with Hoban a little bit now in retrospect. It's just kind of interesting. But either way, like the fact of the matter is all three of them were kind of hanging out. And I love the pause. Like, right, okay, here's a quiz, kids. 5 points. Which one of these two looks like the actual couple? He's like, even a kid could solve this. Obviously, I'm the third wheel in the situation. So he comes up with the ingrown toenail thing and even starts limping away like his foot's hurt. And I love that Snapper's nearby like, you idiot, what are you doing? And then proceeds to attack him. It's like, I followed you because I was worried about you, but how could you do that? And for him, it's like, I don't want to be the third wheel in that situation. Obviously, like, no one could get in the middle of that. But then it took Snapper being like, you idiot, think about it. Boomy, like, spent money on you. She actively was the one that she was taking lead this entire time. Like, she got you coffee. She's the one that issued the date in the first place. So it's like, obviously she, like, if she didn't care about you or wasn't even interested in you, she wouldn't be spending money on you, bro. And it's like, wait, for real? And so that gave him the confidence to like go out there. And I love that like Snapper, he seems like, you're like, yo, Snapper, good guy Snapper. And then you see the veil slip when it's like, the fact is I can make some content out of this. Like I said, it's just like, this episode in particular really showcases that too of like, and I think probably the next episode will touch on it too. If it covers a storyline, I think it will. If it's not next episode, it might be episode 6 that covers a thing that kind of changes like Snapper. Like it was like it's the first like real big thing. Well, some stuff in this episode, but I think later story, like an upcoming story beat is going to make you go like, wow, Snapper is, it gives you a different perspective on him. Like I said, it's interesting how they handle that stuff. Like what kind of eventually makes you see other people in a different light. But either way. But yeah, Snapper wants to use this as content of like, oh yeah, like I confessed to my friend and I got rejected. And everyone in chat's like, oh my god, that's so disgusting that you're going to do that. Once again, it's like, it's such a weird chat situation. You know, I mean, I think probably anyone online will be able to tell you like, oh yeah, like at least like you watch enough live streamers and stuff like that. You're like, yeah, some of your fans will like, once again, that's just kind of like they riff, you know, and rip into you a little bit because you have that dynamic and relationship. But either way, Hoban goes back towards Boomy and is like, oh yeah, like my ingrown toenail, I got over that. And it's like, oh, you sure? Museong's like, if you want me to, like, the only way to handle it is to yank it out. He's like, dude, no, I'm not going to have you ripping out some ingrown toenail that I don't even have. But Museong leaves, and it's like, wait, I was literally stressing about nothing. I was acting like they were on a date. They were just hanging out. Like, I would have missed my time with Boomy if I had, like, listened to my BS, if Snapper had said what he said. But Museong, before leaving, is like, yo, like, I saw your video. You're actually a decent fighter. And even comments on, like, yeah, like, there's a reason why you didn't use that move. And it's like, now, like, this is the beginning of stuff for Hoban, where it's like, wait, how does he know about those moves? Like, has he seen those videos too? Am I the only, like, because those videos have literally no views, so he's like, has no one, like, no one's supposed to have seen these. Like, has he seen it? Like, what's next move? It's like, Hoban hasn't seen all the videos, so it's like, you know, so it's like, ooh, what does Museong know that Hoban doesn't? Well, he is a professional fighter, so, once again, up and rising star, so. He's even saying, like, yo, I'll be excited for your next video. So for Hoban, it's like, right, he gets to hang out with Boomy more, and it's like, you know, she's like, oh, he's like, oh, you know, what's your ideal type? And she's like, my ideal type is someone honest. He's like, okay, I'm gonna be open, honest with my feelings. My ideal type, and he turns to her and he thinks to himself, my ideal type is basically you in your entirety, but he doesn't say it because he's like, I know you're here, Snapper. I'm not stupid. But then we see that Snapper had gotten jumped and beat up. Turns out Paco was watching the live stream and found out exactly where they were because of it. And despite everything he's kind of going through, Hoban can't beat Paco because it's like, right, Paco saw what you did in your previous video. And once again, and as Samdok says, you know, Baka, it's like you can't use the same shit over and over again expecting the same result because people are going to be prepared for it. Especially your get hit without getting hurt technique can be beaten by an uppercut. So, and we proceed to see that, and especially at that time when you see like Hoban like looking back on his past, and it's that this is once again this scene in particular was like, oh god, it's rough because it's like a low point for your protagonist, you know, especially when like Hoban has been getting L's the entire time, you know. I don't even want to even use the term L's, considering like just being bullied and treated like shit, you know, doesn't even mean getting L's. It's just like, because for him it's like for the first time in forever he felt good about himself again, because he's like, I used to actually be a positive person until Paco showed up and he like dimmed like Paco just for no reason chose him as a target just because I felt easy. Could have been anyone, but it's also like, if you notice, like no one was on Hoban's side. He was so alone. People he was friendly with, like everyone just left him alone because no one wanted to deal with Paco. It's like, oh, if I'm close to Hoban, most likely Paco will take it out on me, so I'd rather him dish it out than Hoban. It's like, I'd rather be a spectator than interfere. And it's just like, I mean, I think once again that also kind of speaks volumes about Moonseong. Like, even though like they're in the same class, like it's like you could have stepped in sooner, but you never did, you know. So, you know, I mean, to be fair, I guess he's like sleeping through class, so maybe he ends up missing a lot of the stuff that goes down, or he never gets to see a lot of that, or maybe it's just kind of like, right, me interfering isn't going to help you. If you're going to, like, it's probably like the only way you're going to get help is if you help yourself. Like, that might be Moonseong's perspective on that. 'Cause I don't think, at least from what I've read of the webtoon, I don't think we ever got Moonseong's perspective on why he never did help Hoban. But I mean, we saw him help him in this episode, but we'll get to that when we get to it. But yeah, like Hoban just like little by little like was chipped away of like just, he's like, right, I slumped down. I never met people's eyes anymore. Which I had a PE coach in middle school who had to constantly tell me to stop looking down. Like, yo, pick your head up. It's like, I'm that dude. I never meet people's eyes. I'd always like keep my head down, like, and look down to the ground. It's still a habit I have to like break from time to time, you know, making direct eye contact. Definitely gotten better over the years, obviously, but still, it's still there. And like, you know, that's why I kind of connect with Hoban in that regard. But obviously I've never been, you know, through what he's been through, and just he's so soft spoken now. Like he was like, his posture's just the way it is. He slumped down. He like was basically broken by Paco, and like, because once again no one's there to help him. It's us, you know. He says he doesn't even know when it really started, because they brought up something I didn't remember this whole element of, yeah, his dad left. I was like, interesting. I was like, I was thinking to myself, I was like, I don't remember, because that storyline has not come back up, and who knows if it will. I'll use a recent example. Well, probably like a month or two ago at this point in time, probably even further now at this point in time, was I had picked up and finally finished Girls of the Wilds after all these years, and Jaegu has a missing parent situation. Like, he had a parent abandon him and his siblings. It was his mom, and I was like, oh, are we ever going to circle back to that story? Neither in the live action adaptation Sweet Combat nor in the webtoon itself did they ever circle back to that storyline. So I don't know if that's something they're ever going to tackle. Like, oh, his dad's going to come back in his life. I don't, like, it's not even me trying to be sneaky. I'm like, I don't think that's come up, at least where I am in the webtoon. Not unless it has come up for, like I said, I'm not completely caught up. But either way, I'd actually completely forgotten about that story and go, like, oh yeah, his dad left. I was like, I guess I just assumed his dad was like dead or something. I didn't know his dad abandoned him and his mom. Which adds more to his struggles. But either way, he can't do anything, you know. It's just like, and that all leads up to this point, because he's saying like, right, I got a little confident. In fact, I got complacent. I didn't I finally had some money in my pocket. I didn't care what people say as long as I was making money. You know, I felt good to not be poor and be able to kind of get what I want and be with the girl I want to be with. But I got complacent, and now I'm like paying the price for it. You know, and it's almost like in his mind, it's almost like, right, it was kind of a sweet dream for a little bit, and like reality snaps you back to it. And so, yeah, he's getting beat up by Paco, and the entire time he's like, right, pain, like, you know, wounds, they heal, like, whatever, but the pain that won't heal is his pride, because he's like, I never wanted Boomy to see me this way. I never wanted her to see me for the pathetic loser that I really am. I wanted to still shine in her eyes brightly, and it's like, yeah, I didn't want her to see me like this. So it's kind of a twofold of, hey, let Boomy go, like, she has nothing to do with this. You want to beat me up, that's fine, but it's also, please let Boomy go home, because I don't want her to see me pathetic like this. She's already seen enough. I don't want her to see me even more pathetic, you know? And he's like, cool, fine, okay, like beg, you know, and beg for forgiveness. And he's like, I'm sorry. And it's like, no, be more sincere, drop your pants. And for him, he couldn't do it. But for him, the most frustrating thing is, in that moment, Boomy showed more courage than he did. She was willing to slap Paco, and for him, it's just like, that hurt his pride even more. Like, you know, it makes, like, even, I'm falling even further in front of the girl like I'm in love with. And so Paco was going to attack her, but he drops his pants. It's like, right, no, in fact, he strips down completely naked. It's like, there, I'm done, let her go, there, can you forgive me now? And he's like, and then I think he was actually doing this on purpose. I don't know. Whatever the case may be, I actually don't remember, because they don't really say it, but like Paco does go like, whoa, stop what you're doing, because Hoban was going to drop Trout. He was going to drop his boxers, because it would have meant, like, you know, immediately stopping Paco's live stream and could have gotten his channel terminated and stuff like that. But lo and behold, swoops in Museong, like yanking him up, you know. He's like, oh, you're gonna let me, like, the little pride I have left, you're gonna yank that away from me? But Museong's like, you don't have to do that, and like proceeds to whoop everyone's ass. And so that cuts even deeper into his pride. Like, I couldn't protect the girl I love, it took someone else, and she had to see such a weak side of me. And it's just this heartbreaking thing, because Boomy wants to go over. It's like, no, Museong, we need to go over and make sure, like, Hoban's okay. But Museong's like, no, he needs to be alone right now, because Museong knows, it's like, yeah, like, you being there is actually going to make, I don't know if he says this in the webtoon in that moment, or whether or not it's a conversation later on where maybe he explains it to her during that time skip. But essentially, it's like, I feel like I vaguely remember him being like, you going over there will actually make things worse. Maybe he doesn't, maybe he says exactly what he does in the anime. The sentiment's the same of, don't go over there. He needs to be left alone right now, because you coddling him or trying to make him feel better will just make him feel 10 times worse. It's like, he needs to be alone right now. And even Snapper coming over and apologizing, because he knows, like, how effed up that was. He's like, it's my fault. Like, if I wasn't live streaming, Paco wouldn't have found you. Like, my greediness and me thinking, oh, make content, like, put you in this situation. And it led to, like, I mean, because it's also like Snapper, like, showed them where Hoban was, and, you know, so it's like, if it wasn't for me, like, they wouldn't have found you. And he's like, he knows, once again, he knows how he feels about Boomy, and it's like, right, you were humiliated in front of everyone, in front of a live stream and everything. It's like heartbreaking, you know. And then we proceed, and also, like, the entire time, Yellow Jacket, she's over there. I'm still going to keep calling her that, because they haven't actually properly introduced her in the show yet. But in that moment, even she was like, nearby, and you see, like, tears running down her eyes, because it's like, right, that pride, like, seeing, like I said, just getting these perspectives from her point of view, like, having her, like, it's like this, like, obviously she's a main character, but having her, like, be in the background like this is so interesting to kind of get her involved in all of this, even though, like, once again, her involvement's, like, smaller to a degree, because you really don't know where her involvement is until it's revealed. But now, like I said, having her play, like, this kind of background role is so interesting. And then on top of that, Hoban starts missing school. Like, he ignores Snapper's calls, he ignores Boomy's calls, and obviously, you know, Snapper ends up, well, it was all on Hoban and him, but now, like, Paco's back, he's putting all his efforts in bashing and putting Snapper on display. But yeah, like, Hoban he just wanted to die and isolate himself, but he didn't. He fueled his rage. He used his rage, as Samdak said, like, right, don't look at these like books telling you like, nah, the successful people's experience. Nah, use your rage to fuel you, and he did. And for a month he was training. And once again, I distinctly remember that month time skip, because I think that obviously it happens like a few more times in like at least month time skip. Obviously there's like the 1-2 month time skip. There's another series I'm reading. I'm trying to remember if that was. No, I think it was this one that was also like a 2-month time skip. But either way, tangents and all that aside, that's future stuff. But yeah, no one could get in contact with Hoban, and it's, you know, now it's like, oh, Snapper, he's on Paco's stream, and it's like, okay, if you don't want your friend hurt, you best come to school, Hoban. And Hoban's watching it on his phone, and you get the reveal of, nah, he's at school, and he hands the phone to Snapper. It's like, what are you doing, Snapper? Film me. And it's like, right, my next video, it's been a month, I'm gonna show you how to beat. As the time, some guy was like, it's translated as kind of like regular person, but obviously it's like amateur fighter. So that's why I was kind of confused last episode, because they were like, oh, like, because he's not really a fighter. Like, they were just like, oh, he's a regular person. It's like, no, amateur fighter, regular person. I guess that's just going to be the exchangeable like translation, I guess, in some capacities. But either way. And that's where the episode ended. Because I figured as much. I figured they were going to end the episode. I actually called it directly, because I was like, considering pacing and stuff, I'm like, they're definitely going to, there's no way they're going to end it on the full humiliation. It's like, they're going to like end it with like him, I thought, at least end it with him training, and then it give you like the start of what's going to be the fight. And it's like, lo and behold, it exactly plays out like that. So very excited to see, you know, the rematch between Paco and Hoban. It's going to be interesting to see where things go, even though, once again, that's the funny thing of, yeah, I know where the end result is. I distinctly remember how it plays out. So it's interesting saying rematch too, considering, you know, stuff. But either way, tangents and all that aside, it's definitely going to be interesting to see how it all plays out. And like I said, there's a Snapper thing that, like I said, I'm curious if that's going to be episode 5 or whether that's going to be episode 6 or not. If that thing they're going to do. Because I'm like, they'd have to do that, because it's like, I think it's like, once again, key important part to Snapper. And it also like plays a role in him and Hoban, I think, continuing their partnership and legitimate friendship. So either way, I'm excited to see what happens next. But really, that's all I wanted to talk about. Till the next time we meet, be happy, be safe, live life to the fullest, and enjoy it. Good day and goodbye.